Hello, welcome back. I'm Swedish and I moved to Brazil over 5 years ago. And in this channel I talk about my life here in Brazil and also how I've stopped working and live off my investments. And in today's video I want to talk about dating Brazilian women. Now I've dated some Brazilian women and then eventually I found a lovely Brazilian wife. So I thought I'd share my experiences and also do a bit of comparison between dating in Sweden and dating here in Brazil. So let's begin. Okay, so to begin with, let's talk about appearance. So I think the stereotypical image of a Brazilian woman is someone with dark hair, dark eyes, kind of a slightly darker skin tone. And there are lots of women who look like that. But Brazil is a massive country and they've had immigration from so many countries that you can't actually say that a Brazilian looks like this because it's such a mix. So Brazil's had a lot of immigration from Europe, so from Portugal, Italy, Germany, also from Africa, and also from Asia, in particular Japan. And so the result is a population that's very diverse. And so you have Brazilians who have dark hair, dark eyes, and darker skin, but you also have tall, blonde, blue-eyed Brazilians, and also Brazilians who look more Asian and African. So it's a complete mix. But it also depends on where you live in Brazil. So I live in the south of Brazil, and here a lot more Europeans immigrated. But then if you move further north, so like in Sao Paulo, they had a big immigration from Japan. And then if you move even further north, the characteristics change again. This is very different if you compare it to Sweden, for example, where the majority of people are blonde with blue eyes. Obviously not everyone, but I googled it and they said that over 70% of the population in Sweden is blonde. So in Sweden you can have very predominant characteristics, which you definitely don't have here in Brazil. You can clearly see that if you look at Brazilian celebrities as well. So you've got celebrities like Gisele Bündchen, who's a very famous Brazilian model. She's tall, blonde, blue eyes. And then you have other Brazilian models like Adriana Lima, who's got darker hair, darker eyes, a bit shorter. And then you have a famous Brazilian actress, I think she's mainly famous in Brazil, Marina Barbosa, and she's got very fair skin, ginger hair. So you can see there's no typical Brazilian look, it's a real mix. Now another thing about appearance is that in general Brazilian women are very focused on appearance. So they go to the salon a lot, they have manicures, pedicures frequently, they use a lot of makeup when they go out, and they place a lot of importance on what they wear as well, which is pretty different to Swedish women. They're a bit more relaxed about makeup and the clothes. So for example, if you're just going to go for some drinks with some friends, in general Brazilian women would still dress up and put on a fair bit of makeup, while Swedish women will do less of that. And also the type of clothes that Brazilian women wear, in general, a bit more sexy, I would say. So they're not scared of showing a bit of skin. You can definitely see that at the beaches where Brazilian women wear very small bikinis, and in Sweden that's a lot less common. But what I would say is that Brazilian women in general I think are very beautiful, and that's one of the reasons why I married a Brazilian. So another thing is their personality. So I would say in general Brazilian women are very friendly, approachable, and in general happy with life. And I found approaching Brazilian women and starting to chat to them very easy, a lot easier than in Sweden and England and America, for example, where I also lived. Obviously you need to know Portuguese, so it's not that simple because first of all you need to learn how to speak Portuguese. But once you've done that, I found it easy to go up and start chatting. And at the beginning they might be a bit shocked that you start speaking Portuguese in a strong accent, but after that they're very interested. They're interested in what it's like to live overseas and everything. So it's easy to start up a good conversation. And in general my impression is that they're just happy and they just want to have fun. So in general they like going out. And then when you start dating, they want you to meet their friends and they want you to go out with them. And one funny thing is that Brazilian women, they like to drink beer as well. So that's something less common in Sweden and some other countries. So, but here in Brazil, a lot of women, they like to have a beard just like the men. Okay, so another thing is show of affection. So Brazilian women, they like to show affection to the men, but they also like their men to do the same to them. So I'm talking about hugging and kissing and holding hands in public. And this for a Swedish person is very different, because in Sweden in general you don't show much affection in public. Sometimes you might hold hands, but generally there's no kissing and all that kind of stuff in public. And even in private, I would say there's less of that in Sweden than there is in Brazil. When you're dating, this usually starts pretty early on. So you kind of start holding hands and kissing pretty quickly. Obviously not in all instances, but in general I'm talking here. And also you start talking about how you feel about the other person pretty quickly as well, which again doesn't really happen in the Swedish culture. It takes usually a longer time before you kind of express that you like someone and you start sharing your feelings. So this can be a bit of a shock for the foreigners, and also that can annoy the girlfriend as well if you don't start to kind of show this affection and start talking about your emotions. I remember when I was dating my wife, she sometimes asked me if I still liked her because I wasn't showing this affection, I wasn't telling her how I felt. And so this was something that I had to change. But even to this day, this Swedish culture being pretty reserved and keeping your feelings to yourself is deeply rooted in me. So I've managed to change a bit, but not totally. And also over time my wife has got used to it. And so it's definitely one recommendation that I have, to kind of just relax a bit and try and show a bit more affection. Okay, so in general, Brazilian women are very friendly and affectionate, but also there's another side which is pretty fiery and hot-tempered. So I mean, if there's something they don't like or something that irritates them, they're going to say it and they're going to show their emotions. So I mean, dating here in Brazil, I would say I've had a lot more arguments with the women that I've been dating, and this happened a lot less with the women in Sweden that I was dating, because I think in Sweden the tendency is for people to keep their emotions to themselves, and then gradually this just kind of builds up and builds up until there's a big explosion and a massive argument. But in Brazil they don't generally do that, so if there's something that they don't like something, they just say it, they don't keep it to themselves. And I would probably say it's probably more healthier that way than what we do in Sweden, because I don't think it's that healthy to kind of just keep everything to yourself. So I would say that in Brazil I've had lots more kind of small arguments, while in Sweden it was more kind of just one or two major arguments. So just in general, be prepared for that. And also in terms of other emotions as well, so being sad and crying, I would say in general there's more of that here in Brazil. Again, in Sweden you kind of see crying a bit as a weakness, so people in general don't cry that much. But for example, my wife, she cries a lot, and it's just kind of normal here in Brazil. Okay, and then another thing is kind of the values and the culture. So I would say kind of Brazilian women, they have slightly more traditional values, I would say, compared to Sweden and some other countries. So I mean, family is very important to Brazilians. So I would say in general, kind of Brazilians, they see their parents and siblings more frequently than they do in Sweden. I think in general as well, Brazilian women, they kind of want to start a family earlier on than Swedish women. Because in Sweden, independence is very important for Swedish women, which I think is really good. But one of the consequences of this is that in general, Swedish people kind of start families pretty late. Now in Brazil also, independence for women is very important. I would say slightly less. And for them, family is very important, and they kind of want to start having families earlier on. And talking about families and stuff, one difference that I did notice is Brazilians, they kind of like taking their boyfriend, girlfriends to their family pretty early on, while that's not the case in Sweden, where usually you wait a fair bit to, you know, really be sure that this is the right boyfriend girlfriend, and then maybe show them to the parents. But my experience is dating Brazilians that they quickly want you to meet their parents and their siblings and stuff. So this again is something as a foreigner you need to get used to. But my experience was, it was all very positive, meeting the family, and they all wanted to know lots about me and what it was like living overseas and stuff. So I think here in Brazil, meeting the family is less of a big thing than it is in Sweden and other countries. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. So like I said, I find Brazilian women very beautiful. Also the dating process I find more fun and more relaxed here in Brazil. So if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe. If you've got any questions, leave in the commentary below. So thanks for watching, until next time.